Hey everyone, welcome back to another exciting video. So, have you ever wondered why your messages appear instantly or why stock market price update on a real time or how your games run smoothly? So, you might think that HTTP is handling all of these, but the truth is HTTP alone is not enough. So let me share the screen. So yeah, why HTTP falls short? If I say your HTTP, it basically follows your request response model. Let me write here. My bad. This. So what it does is it basically follows your request response model HTTP, like where your client send a request to the server and your server respond back to the client for that particular request. Okay, so what if you want real-time chat or you want the real-time notification? So HTTP alone cannot keep it up. It's not sufficient to achieve this all with the help of HTTP. Okay, so what's beyond HTTP? So there is WebSockets, SSE, your server sent events, or your WebRTC. These come into a picture. So like for your WebSocket, for your real-time chat application, as you can see here on this video, this chat is on real time. As you can see your stock market ticker, the prices of your stock market is updating on a real time. And the one more thing you can see here, yeah, the video call connection. This video call, like you use Zoom, Google Meet and all those, this video calling is happen through WebRTC. So these are the technologies which are beyond HTTP, but only with the HTTP you cannot perform these all. Okay, so in this video we'll cover like when to use these technologies and what are these technologies or terminologies, like your WebSocket, SSE and your WebRTC. So be with me, and by the end of this video you will know exactly when to use which terminology in your project. Okay, so let's start with the video. So what is WebSocket? So I would say WebSocket is a full duplex communication protocol. Let me write here on the iPad as well. Okay, so what is WebSocket? Let me write here as well. Okay, so if I say WebSocket, it is your full duplex. So full duplex, I believe you all must have a background of computer science, where you studied one subject called your computer networking, and where you got some idea about what is half duplex, full duplex and your communication mediums and transmission mediums, so all those. So this is your full duplex communication protocol. So what it does, it establishes a connection between your client and a server, and by the help of web. So here you have one client and here you have this server. So once you send a request to your WebSocket server, it responds back you with 101, which is the switching protocol response. So what it does, this is your switching protocol response. So like in your traditional HTTP, what happens, like your HTTP is your request response model. Suppose if you have client here and this is your server, and if you want any data, so what you will do, you will make a, this is a client, and you will send a request to the server, I need particular resource from you, and server will check and do some internal search and whatever and respond back to the client. So here will be a response. So here what it does, it established when client send a request to the server. A connection has been established, and when server respond back to the client, then the connection has been aborted or terminated. Connection closed. So in traditional HTTP, each time you send a request to the server and you get a response, and each time a new connection will be established between a client and a server. But in WebSockets, there is a single TCP connection will be established, and this is a persistent connection. You can use this connection for a long time, and you can just, and here one more thing. In HTTP, you have to, each time you have to send a request, it will give you a response. Like if you want the real-time notification or the chat, real-time chat, each time you have to send a request to the server inside HTTP. But inside WebSocket, this is your bidirectional full duplex communication protocol. Like here you do not need to each time send a request to the server. Whenever there is a data available on the server, it will give you the response. So here we are getting the response from the server, and there is only one TCP connection established between your client and server that you can use for your transmission or real-time chat. Okay, so this was like what is WebSockets and why we need that WebSockets, because there is a low latency, a single connection can be used between your client and server. Like inside in your HTTP, each time you have to send a request to the server, a new connection will be established for the client and server, and all those. This process takes time, and this is not much efficient for your real-time data exchange. So for that your WebSockets are used, and I believe I have some key differences, like how WebSocket different from your HTTP. As you can read here, like your full duplex, so both client server can send message anytime. Yeah, inside WebSockets, your client and server, like if there is something available on the server, so you don't need to send a request to the server. Whenever there is a data on the server will push that data to the client, and the HTTP is half duplex, and there is a persistent, like your single TCP connection is there, and inside HTTP you can read that new connection for each request response cycle. And this is like stateless. Inside HTTP there is no state management, it is a stateless, but inside your like WebSocket, this is a stateful. And there is low latency, high latency, minimal overhead. Like the initial handshake you have to perform with your client and server in WebSockets, and supports binary and text based like a real-time application. And this is for your static content like REST API and all those. And in the initial video I showed you one video, like there was one thing called chat, and one was your stock price, just understand stock market price, ticker, and the third one was your video. Like if we have like WebSockets, then there was one terminology I mentioned, that was SSE. What is that? This, like the real-time communication can be achieved using your SSE. SSE is your server sent events. Let me show you if I have something for this as well. Like why do we need WebSockets? Because low latency, persistent TCP connection, like for the real time we have to use the WebSockets. And do I have anything else? Yeah, how is WebSocket different from HTTP? I showed you this difference, you can just refer to this. I'll attach this link in the description, you can check it out there. And so what is SSE? Server sent events. So server sent event is a unidirectional communication, like I can say it's a server client model. Like here, suppose if you have server here, and here you have, oh sorry my bad, and here you have one client. So only server can send data to the client. Your client cannot request to the server for anything. Only your server can send data to the client. This is only one way. I can say this is one way. This is also real time, like whenever there is a data in your server, whenever there is a data available on your server, it just send back to the client like I have this data, it is just streaming that data on a real time. But this is only one way, like here your client cannot send a request to the server. So like where we need these SSEs. So SSEs you can use like your news streaming, like your news channels, they are just broadcasting where your news are broadcasting. There you can use like the stock market price ticker, like there you just see the data, you not send anything, they are just broadcasting, they are displaying the data, or the notification alerts, you are just getting real-time alerts, notifications, or your sports score, like in your match your sports score is just streaming from the server, there is no client who is sending a request to the server. So on those scenarios you can use SSEs. Okay, now another thing, do I have anything for like why do we need? Because these are like low latency real time over your HTTP, but only there is a different use case for your like WebSocket and SSE. Like SSE you have to use where you have only one-way communication, like your server only have to push the data on the client. So in that you can use like your I mentioned for your news streaming, stock market price ticker for real-time updates, and for your sports score streaming, for those purposes you can use your SSEs. And so why can't we use SSEs instead of WebSockets? Again, they both allow your real-time communication, but they both serves different purposes. Like your SSE is for one-way communication and your WebSocket is for two-way communication. Okay, so when to use SSEs versus WebSockets, I believe we have covered this as well. So WebSockets versus WebRTC, why use WebSockets? Okay, so WebRTC, what is WebRTC? So WebRTC is your specifically for like when you perform your media transmission, there is a you have to exchange some media like your audio, your video. In that scenario, WebRTC is optimized and efficiently designed for your media transmission, like your audio, and if you have to share or stream your video. For your audio video streaming, there is a dedicated WebRTC design, but if you have like the basically it is complex to design the WebRTC or set up the WebRTC. Like if you have just a simple chat application where you have to perform some text exchange, not the audio and video, in that case you can just go with the WebSockets. It's very simpler to use, simpler to set up on your machine. So in that scenario you can just go with your WebSockets. But if you have like your audio streaming, video streaming, in those scenarios you can definitely check out with WebRTC. Okay, so if we talk about the what is the official definition of WebRTC, so WebRTC is your web real-time communication protocol. This is for basically for your P2P, peer-to-peer communication that enables like audio, video, and data exchange without the need of server. Here, without the need of server means doesn't mean you actually not need a server in your entire communication. Like for the initial connection stabilization, it uses signal and all those. For that you need server, but after that once the connection is established, then you can directly exchange the data, share the data over the browsers. It basically bypass the server at that time. So that's why it is fast and optimized. But again, these both serves very different purposes. Like WebSockets is for your light chat application for the real-time things, but WebRTC is where you have to exchange, like you have to stream your audios and videos. And there are some like key differences. Let me bring that key differences here. Do I have? Yeah. So what is WebRTC, like when to use? Let me bring that snapshot here. So like it's P2P, or WebSocket is your client server. It's for audio, video, data, only text, like your binaries, data, text and binaries. And one, the important, the connection model. WebRTC is your decentralized, but WebSockets is your centralized. And there are latency extremely low, but not as fast as P2P. And your media streaming, yes, it is optimized, basically designed for your media streaming, but no, there is only a data transfer. And require servers, no, except for signaling. Signaling is like for the initial handshake, for establishing the connection between the client and the server. And yes, WebSocket always require a server. And for the scalability, it's harder to scale, like P2P limitations. It's easier to scale, like your centralized model. And like, so here I have two interview questions for you. So the first is why not WebRTC? Like it also does the same job. Like as I told you, like for WebRTC is basically designed for your streaming data exchange, like your audio, video. And the major thing which is important for, like if you are sitting in an interview, and if you'll say only this much, that might not be acceptable. You have to mention that like your WebSockets, when the client send a request to the server, so it uses the TCP connection. And in the case of your WebRTC, it uses the UDP connection, transmission control protocol, and your user datagram protocol. Like in TCP, there is a guarantee of delivery. Like there will be always, you will get the data, or like there is a surety, like in which order you send the data, on the other side the same order you will get back your data. And TCP is your connection oriented protocol. So here you will definitely get your data, like the guarantee of delivery of your data. Like in UDP, there might be a chances this is connectionless protocol. Here there is no guarantee of delivery of your data. There might be a chance you will not get your data will be lost. And inside UDP there is no retransmission of data. But in TCP there is a medium of retransmitting the data. If your data is lost in between the transmission, then you will get back your data. There is a retransmission mechanism in the TCP as well. So this was the key difference. Like your WebSockets uses the TCP, and your UDP use the or your WebRTC uses the UDP. Okay, so the second question is, what is the first request client sends to the server in a WebSocket? So like as we were covering, so this is our WebSocket. Like the first request, your client, here we have a client, this client is sending to the server, like request TCP establishment, we are getting response 101 switching protocol response. The first request always will be your HTTP inside your WebSockets. This question might you can get in your interview, like what is the first request client sent to the server in the WebSockets? The first request always will be your HTTP, and the server will respond back to the client with a response code of 101, which is your switching protocol response. They said, yeah, we have switched our protocol from HTTP to WebSocket. So now for normal HTTP request, we use our URL like HTTP or S as well if you have secure. Then there is your domain name and all the stuff. But for the WebSockets we use WS, not HTTP. Then the URL will be same. There's no change. But this is for like your HTTP is equivalent to your WS, and if you have HTTPS, that will be equivalent to your WSS. So I hope you got some insights like what is your HTTP, why HTTP is not enough, why we need WebSockets, and what is SSE, what is WebRTC. Like these all seems like they are same or similar, but they all serves very different purpose in the different use cases. So yeah, that's all for this video. I hope you found this video useful. If then, like the video. If you are new here to the channel, to subscribe the channel and press that bell notification for the latest updates. See you.